Today we have a lever for the N64, so let's load it up and get playing. This is the lever for the Nintendo 64 and it's about a glove that handles plenty of balls. Bouncing balls, of course. Glover is trying to collect magical crystals that hold the balance and tranquility of the kingdom after one of the wizard's experiments go wrong, causing the formation of the antagonist Ditch, which just happens to be a franking glove of all things. If that didn't sound unique enough, the gameplay is way out there as well. You are playing as a freaking walking, floating magical glove trying to collect magical crystals that just happened to be turned into balls to hold the balance of the entire land in their hands. The game is a lot like basketball, as you can dribble and shoot. You also have to avoid things actually touching the ball or else you'll lose it. You can always get it back though, as long as it doesn't fall off the edge or something, and when that happens, or if it's broken, you'll lose a life. In order to save the kingdom, we need to collect all 7 of the magic crystals in ball form, but we never seem to learn the name of this kingdom, or really anything about this video game world. You know, I would really like to know what is the name of this magical kingdom, which seems to have the powers to give gloves intelligence, and of course magic, because why not? To get a magical crystal, we need to enter a world which will contain 3 levels, a boss, and a bonus level. In the levels you will carry the magical crystal in ball form to the end, and then enter the next stage and so on until you fight the boss. Once you beat the boss, you can take it back with you to the hub world. The lever is actually pretty interesting. It can be lots of fun like Super Monkey Ball, but you have to have quite a good memory as the game has a huge move set, with each only needing to be used in particular situations. To top that off, the controls don't seem to work correctly all the time, as the A button, when tapped, will slap, and the B button, when held, will throw. For some reason when I tap A, it might throw at the worst possible moment for no apparent reason. Maybe I'm just doing something wrong, but I'm not too sure, as there are way too many uses for a single button. You will have more than one command typically linked to a button depending on how you use it. Like if you tap B, you will bounce the ball, and if you hold the B button, you will actually hold the ball. I was never a fan of the Nintendo 64 controller, so it just made it worse. The game hurts my hands, and the game's awkward controls really took away from the experience. It got really frustrating, especially during the boss fights. The game's arsenal of enemies is actually kinda interesting. Look at this guy right here. If the bouncy ball is not manly enough for you, you can switch the type of ball you have. For instance, you can turn the ball into a heavy bowling ball, which can go underwater without floating, which can be very helpful with some of the game's puzzles. It adds depth to the game as well, for instance, that you can't solve it just using the bouncy ball. You also need to, use the bowling ball and other types of balls you can use. But the game doesn't tell you how each type can be used and what's it all about, so you have to experiment on your own. One thing you can turn it into is back to the magical crystal, and I never knew that. So I was like, oh cool, this looks cool, it's like a spike ball, and then I throw it over the level and it smashes and I end up losing the life because I just broke the frickin' crystal. Here's an example of how this game can be frustrating. I was going through the first level of Second World when I had to roll the ball while standing on it across this body of water to go to an elevator platform going up and down. You don't have very much time to get on it, so you have to be quick. But every time I try to get on it, I miss, because it's hard enough that you have to move in the opposite direction you want to go to get there, and there's a freaking current pushing you away. So you really have to fight the current, and you can't just stand still and be really close and just easily get on, because then you're just going to be pushed entirely away from it. If you try to fight the current while trying to be slow so you can get close to the platform, you'll end up going in another direction entirely. That section of the game was very irritating, and there's lots of stages like that where it's just too hard with the mixture of bad controls, and I would just turn off the game and go play another one. And that's the flaw with this game. I thought it was actually a decent game, but it could have been a really good game if it wasn't so frustrating due to the bad controls. If you're a patient person who's fine with bad controls, consider picking this game up.